Welcome to Cooking on the Kenai. We all know people who are gluten-free. Today I'm going to show you how to make a flourless chocolate cake. On my counter I have parchment paper, a knife to cut it with, an 8-inch round cake pan. I have cooking spray, 1 cup of dark chocolate chips, half a cup of butter, 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 3 eggs that are slightly beaten so that they're all one color, and a half a cup of cocoa. To prepare your pan, you need to cut a piece of parchment paper. I use a sharp tip of my knife and I cut around the bottom of my pan all the way around. And it cuts your paper perfectly to the size of your pan. If you have some wrinkles in it that it won't lay flat, you can bend your paper down the opposite direction and lay it in your pan. Once you have it in your pan, spray it with your cooking spray so that it will be easy to remove your cake once it is baked. Please remember to preheat your oven to 375. I have combined the chocolate chips and the butter in a microwave-safe bowl. I am going to microwave this for 30 seconds and stir the chips and butter to combine. If the chips have not melted, please continue heating and stirring at 10-second intervals until the chips are smooth. Be careful not to overheat the chocolate so it doesn't burn. My chocolate and butter have completely melted and are smooth. To this, I'm going to add my sugar, my salt, and my vanilla. I'm going to stir those in until they are combined. To this, I'm going to add my 3 beaten eggs, stirring that to combine it. This may take a minute. This is such a rich and decadent cake. It is wonderful. Okay, once you have your eggs in there, you are going to add your Dutch processed cocoa. Dutch processed cocoa is darker than regular unsweetened cocoa. Regular unsweetened cocoa is more acidic and has a mellower flavor than the Dutch processed cocoa. Do not overstir this once you have added the chocolate. Just stir it until it is all combined. If you overstir it, your cake will be tough. The cocoa acts as the flour or the gluten in your cake to make your structure. I'm going to pour it into my prepared pan. Doesn't that batter look wonderful? It is so rich, dark colored. You could also use regular semi-sweet chocolate chips, or if you like a lighter cake yet, you could use milk chocolate chips. I just prefer the dark chocolate. I'm going to shake this around to get my cake even. I will put this in the oven to bake for 25 minutes. After 25 minutes, check your cake to see that it has a thin crust and has an internal temperature of 200 degrees. The cake is baked for 25 minutes. It has a crust and it is temping at 200 degrees. Now we let it cool for 10 minutes. My cake has cooled for 10 minutes. So now I'm going to remove it from the pan and place it on a cake plate. To remove your cake from your cake pan, gently take a butter knife and go around the edges of your cake to loosen it from the sides. Take your cake plate, flip it upside down and center it over your cake pan and flip your cake onto your cake plate. Remove the cake pan and don't forget to remove the parchment paper. Now I'm going to make a chocolate ganache to top my cake. To make the ganache in a microwave safe bowl, I'm going to combine chocolate chips. I'm using dark chocolate chips and a half a cup of heavy cream. Because I don't have heavy cream, I'm just using whipping cream. You are going to microwave this for 30 seconds, stir it, and then microwave it again for 10 more seconds at a time until it is completely smooth. My cake is completely cooled and I'm going to top it with my ganache. You can choose to use all of this ganache or you could just use part of it. Spread it evenly over the top of your cake. This glaze or ganache needs to set up for 2 to 3 hours before in the refrigerator before you cut your cake. I let my cake cool in the refrigerator overnight, so now I'm ready to serve. Even though this is a one-layer cake, it is very rich, so I am going to cut it into 16ths. So you take and cut it in half. I'm going to move those back together. You cut it into quarters. That makes 4. And then you cut it again. Cut the quarters in half to give you 8 slices. And you would cut each of the eighths into half again to make 16ths. Just like that. The ganache has a tendency to stick to the knife, so you need to kind of push it away from the knife to keep your slices nice and even. At this point, I would wash my knife to clear it of the ganache, and then you can serve your piece of your flourless chocolate cake. You may have noticed that it looked a little difficult to cut this cake. Because this cake is so rich and dense, it does take a little effort. You can also serve this cake with whipped cream and ice cream. Thanks for watching Cooking on the Kenai.